The Trump presidency has raised many questions regarding the balance of power and authority in our federal government. We learned in school that there are 3 branches of government. These are the presidency, which is the executive branch, the Congress, which is the legislative branch, and the judicial branch, which is the judges and courts. The Trump presidency has brought constitutional structures to the forefront of consciousness. We hear news commentators constantly screaming at each other, but we hear only conclusions and opinions and not actual constitutional facts. For example, a court can order President Trump to make efforts to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back to America, but what if the president says no? Does the court have any enforcement power? Can the court hold the president in contempt of court? The commentators never analyze the actual law, they just express opinions. Well, not to hear. The law office of Daniel Horowitz addresses these issues from a constitutional perspective to help you analyze the news from a highly educated perspective. Today, I focus on the presidency and the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell heads the Federal Reserve, and he was appointed by President Trump in his first term. The president nominated Jerome Powell, and he was then confirmed by the Senate to serve a 14-year term. So who is his boss? The president? Is his boss the Senate? Does he have a direct boss at all? The key question is this: can the President of the United States fire the Federal Reserve Chair at will? This question sits at the crossroads of constitutional law, economic stability, and political oversight. To answer it, we must navigate the legal framework that defines presidential removal power and the safeguards designed to protect independent agencies like the Federal Reserve. Here's the law. First, let's look at the presidential removal power. The general rule is this: the president possesses broad authority to remove executive branch officials, ensuring accountability and loyalty within the administration. Landmark cases, such as Myers versus the United States and Collins versus Yellen, reinforce this principle. Yet this power is not absolute. Congress has placed limitations on removals, particularly for independent agencies that require political insulation to operate effectively. Congress has long recognized that certain regulatory bodies must be shielded from direct political influence to maintain their integrity. The Federal Reserve falls into this category. Through cases like Humphrey's Executor versus the United States, the Supreme Court has upheld restrictions on the president's power to remove officials from independent agencies without valid justification. And yet, during the Biden administration, members of independent agencies, such as San Francisco's Presidio Board, such as conservative television host Michael Savage, were summarily fired and no one complained. What does for cause removal mean? It ensures that officials can only be dismissed for reasons such as inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance, rather than simply due to political disagreements. This safeguard prevents disruptions in monetary policy caused by shifting partisan interests. But again, this rule is very rarely enforced at lower levels of government. The Federal Reserve is a different situation. The Federal Reserve is unique among government agencies. Its monetary policies influence national and global economies, and stability is paramount. Thus, the Federal Reserve Chair is afforded a layer of protection under the for-cause removal standard, reinforcing economic decision-making free from undue political pressure. This standard was affirmed in Collins versus Yellen and remains a cornerstone of central bank independence. Based on legal precedents, the president cannot fire the Federal Reserve Chair at will. Removal must meet the for-cause standard, ensuring that only incompetence or misconduct, not political differences, justify dismissal. This safeguard reinforces the Federal Reserve's independence, allowing it to operate free from short-term political pressure and maintain long-term economic stability. Thus, while the president wields immense executive power, the Federal Reserve remains a protected institution. Thank you for watching this video. I welcome further discussion on this fundamental issue of governance, and I welcome your comments.